One of the core issues raised before me by most organizations in Pakistan is, why is it that companies are not able to select the talent, the quality of the talent they require, in spite of having a very detailed selection process, recruitment criteria, the education, the experience, and all the other ingredients that they can conceive of are included in the recruitment process. But in reality, when they look at the hires done in the last year and they look at their performance and the target, what they realize is that they have not been able to pick up the best people, not all of them. A big majority of such recruits end up in the middle or average performers. Some are even disappointing. So the problem with HR community in Pakistan and like many other countries is to think about, reflect, why is it that we are not getting the performance, not getting the quality of human resource, quality of talent that we target through our selection process. If we before moving ahead, let's take a very quick look at what is our current recruitment process. We define the requirements based on the job descriptions, and most of the job descriptions talk about the job summary, they talk about the key educational criteria, they talk about the experience, and that's all we have on the job description. So the recruitment advertisements, be that through the newspaper, through a network, or through other resourcing channels, talks about the experience, the education, and number of years. When the interview is done, most of the time candidates are talked up through the resume. We look into, we deliberate a little bit about their educational background. We talk about their past job experiences. We talk about why did they leave a job. We talk about what are they expecting in their new job. And if you really jot down these questions on a sheet of paper, you will see that most of these things are quite predictable. These questions are quite predictable. So if I'm a candidate and I'm preparing for an interview and I've got a little bit of common sense and intelligence, I will write down all these predictable questions and I will be better prepared to answer to the expectation of the interviewer at the interview table. So result is that yes, we can see some spark and brilliance in some interviews, but by and large the real talent requirements are missing. So in Pakistan and in other countries in the region, there is a need to focus on what is it that we are really looking into the candidate. And that is something, a pre-exercise that needs to be done, which is not inherently part of our recruitment process. I would suggest that recruiters and the companies and the hiring managers take a look at the job description and think beyond what is stated there. And I would like to suggest considering a model of value creation. If you define on a piece of paper in this particular job what's going to be the input and what will be the output and what is going to be the difference between input and output, if you can articulate that, that is the value creation. And that value creation then tells us what is it that we really need in that person, in that job, in that person who will do job. This is factor number one. Factor number two is we do not absolutely, in most cases, consider the competencies required to do the job. So when we are hiring a teacher, we are hiring a professor, or we are hiring somebody in the finance or marketing, we look into the educational qualifications, which are like MBAs, which are like PhDs, which are like chartered accountants, like engineering degrees. So these are the prerequisites that we look for and we interview people. And anybody who has got these things, we take it that he is qualified for an interview, which to that point it is correct. But then not all PhDs are good teachers. Not all MBAs are good marketing people. Not all MBAs are good, not all chartered accountants are good accountants. So there's a need to understand this difference between knowledge and some specific behavior patterns, which will then help select the right person. And this is called competencies, and we call development of competency metrics as an initial exercise. So if I have to hire a salesperson, I would encourage you to look into the best salespeople you have. Pick up 2-3 examples of the best salespersons, and then think, why is it that they were the best? You will have a list of some common behavior patterns. Why is it that these 3 people with MBA or with whatever product knowledge and market knowledge, why is it that these 3 are outclassing? These three are great contributors to the sales team. And if we can identify those behaviors, and then during the interview process, rather than focusing on education and the career history, focus on those behaviors, we will have much better selection. If you are selecting a teacher, don't just look into the PhD, don't just look into the number of years of teaching. These 2 factors, which are our predominant selection criteria, are not very relevant when I'm looking into outstanding teacher. So for that, what I would recommend is you look into 4 or 5 outstanding teacher, best rated teachers in your own career, and then think about why do they come across as best teachers. And if you can articulate those points, write it down, you will be able to draw a very rough sketch of competency matrix. Next step is to bring those keep that competency matrix during the interview, and then talk about incidences, talk about their past behaviors, talk about their past experiences, where you can create a link of what they did and how they did and how did they actually demonstrate that competency that you are looking. If there is a teacher, and the best teacher that comes to mind is one who is greatly interacting rather than just one-way communication, who talks to the students, who seeks opinions, who creates discussion in the class, then those are the things we are looking into it. So PhD is good, a lot of knowledge is good, but translating that knowledge, translating that knowledge and sharing it and passing it to somebody else is a totally different art. So my recommendation is that organizations review their recruitment process and make a visible shift from the conventional style of interviews to a competency-based interview. And a competency-based interview will require selecting the best people in the current job, defining the behavior patterns, and during the process of interview, try and search for those behavior patterns. I'm sure with this process, with this change in approach in your interview, you will be able to have a much better selection of talent as you go for the future. Best of luck.